A 15-year-old girl walks into a biker bar at noon asking for help.
He follows me everywhere.
The chatter stops. The music fades. And when they leave, they see exactly what she means. A car circling the block like a predator waiting for the right moment. But it's not just about one girl. It's about a pattern no one wanted to see, one that doesn't threaten only her. The door swung open just after noon, letting in a shaft of sunlight that cut through the dim haze of cigarette smoke and motor oil. The biker bar was loud, engines revving outside, classic rock pounding from corner speakers, laughter bouncing off worn leather booths. Nobody noticed her at first. She was small, wearing an oversized hoodie despite the heat, her hands shoved deep into her pockets. She stood just inside the doorway, frozen, her eyes scanning the room like she was searching for something she wasn't sure existed. Then she spoke. Her voice was barely audible, swallowed by the noise. He follows me everywhere. The nearest biker, a broad-shouldered man with graying temples named Bruce, turned toward her. He saw the tremor in her hands first, then the exhaustion carved into her young face. 15, maybe younger, too young to carry that kind of fear in her eyes. The room didn't go silent all at once. It happened in waves. The bartender stopped mid-pour. A group playing pool glanced over. The music seemed to fade into the background as more eyes turned toward the girl standing alone by the door. Bruce set down his beer and walked over slowly, palms visible, non-threatening. "You okay, kid?" She shook her head. Her lips pressed together like she was trying not to cry. "I didn't know where else to go." Within seconds, 2 other bikers joined Bruce. Rita, a woman with silver streaked through her dark braid, and Leon, younger but steady. They didn't crowd her. They gave her space. Rita crouched slightly to meet her eyes. "What's your name?" "Sabrina." "Okay, Sabrina. You said someone's following you?" She nodded, her breath hitching. "He's outside. He's always outside." Bruce exchanged a glance with Leon, then motioned toward the door. "Show us." They stepped onto the cracked pavement together, the girl positioned between them. The street was typical for midday. A few parked trucks, a couple walking a dog across the way, heat shimmering off the asphalt. Then Bruce saw it. A dark blue sedan, windows tinted, rolling slowly past the block. It didn't stop. It didn't speed up. It just circled, deliberate and patient, like a shark testing the perimeter. Leon muttered something under his breath. Rita's jaw tightened. Sabrina wrapped her arms around herself. "That's him. He does this every day. Sometimes for hours." They walked her back inside, away from the windows. The other bikers had picked up on the tension. The pool game stopped. Someone turned down the music. Bruce pulled out a chair for her, and she sat, gripping the edge of the table like it was the only solid thing left in the world. "Start from the beginning," Bruce said gently. She did. Her voice was quiet but steady, like she had been rehearsing for an audience that might finally listen. It had started 6 months ago. Messages on social media, friendly at first, compliments about her photos, questions about school. She had thought he was just another kid from the area. She hadn't known he was 20. She hadn't thought twice about responding. But the messages kept coming. 10 messages turned into dozens, then too many to count. When she slowed her replies, he noticed immediately. He would ask why she was ignoring him, say he just wanted to talk, make her feel guilty for needing space. She tried to explain she was busy, that she didn't want to chat anymore. He didn't listen. He started showing up, outside her school, near the bus stop, at the corner store 3 blocks from her house. Always watching, always waiting. She blocked him. That was when it got worse. He created new accounts. He followed her mom's car. He sent messages through friends, through people she barely knew, asking them to tell her to just talk to him. When she finally told her mom, they went to the police together. Twice. The first time, the officer took notes and said they would look into it. Nothing happened. The second time, they filed for a restraining order. It was approved, then dismissed 2 weeks later due to what the clerk called an administrative error. Sabrina's voice cracked. "I found out why. His dad is someone important. He donates to campaigns or something. Everyone knows his name. Rita leaned back in her chair, her expression dark. Let me guess. Suddenly nobody can help you. Sabrina nodded. They told me to change my routine, to be more careful. Like it's my fault he wouldn't leave me alone. Bruce stared at the table, his hands clenched. Something about this felt familiar, too familiar. Then it hit him. The blue sedan. The pattern. The same excuses from authorities. He had seen this before. His sister, Kate. She had been 16 when it happened. Different guy, same family. The same untouchable name. The same cycle of messages, appearances, complaints that went nowhere. She had eventually left town just to feel safe again. He looked at Sabrina, and the anger burning in his chest wasn't just for her. It was for every girl who had been told to adjust, to shrink, to disappear so someone else could keep circling. You did the right thing coming here, Bruce said, his voice low and steady. We're not gonna let this keep happening. Outside, the sedan passed again, slow and deliberate. Inside, the bikers were already planning their next move. Bruce didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, phone in hand, staring at his sister's contact for 20 minutes before finally pressing call. It rang 4 times before Kate answered, her voice thick with sleep. Bruce? It's 2 in the morning. I know. I'm sorry. But I need to tell you something. Fabric shifted on the other end. The silence that followed was wide awake. What happened? He told her everything. The girl in the bar, the circling sedan, the dismissed restraining order, the name that had made everything click into place. When he finished, the silence stretched so long he thought the call had dropped. Kate? Her voice came back tight, controlled. Same family. Yeah. Same tactics. Exactly the same. Her exhale came slow and controlled, the sound of someone holding themselves together by force of will. Give me an hour. She hung up before he could respond. Kate called back before the hour was up. Her voice had shifted from shaken to sharp, the investigative journalist fully awake. I've been searching archives. There are gaps everywhere, complaints filed. Then nothing. No follow-up reports, no court dates, just dead ends. Can you find out how many? I'm already on it. But Bruce, if I dig into this, it's gonna get ugly. For everyone. Good, he said. It should. The next morning, Bruce gathered the core members of the club in the back room, Rita, Leon, and 3 others, including the club president, a grizzled man named Dale who had been writing since before Bruce was born. He laid out the situation plainly. A kid was being stalked, the system wouldn't help her, and the stalker's family had enough influence to make problems disappear. Leon spoke first. So we make him disappear instead. No, Dale's voice cut through the room like gravel. That's exactly what they want. One move like that and we hand them everything they need to shut us down. Rita crossed her arms. So we do nothing? I didn't say that. Dale pulled out a folder, dropping it on the table. Inside were bills, overdue lease payments, bank notices, permit renewal fees they could barely afford. We're 3 months behind on rent. The landlord's already looking for an excuse to sell this place to developers. You think the stalker's father doesn't know that? 1 lawsuit, 1 police report about us threatening his son, and we're done. The room went quiet. Everyone knew he was right. Bruce leaned forward. Then we do it smart. My sister's already pulling records. If there's a pattern, she'll find it. And then what? Leon asked. We write a strongly worded letter? We document everything, Bruce said. Every time he shows up, every time that car circles the block. We build a case so solid they can't ignore it. Dale nodded slowly. We also need someone inside the system who gives a damn. Rita knew someone. Detective Laura Brennan, a 15-year veteran who had earned a reputation for being difficult. Not because she was incompetent, but because she refused to let cases die quietly when political pressure rolled in. Rita had worked with her years ago on a domestic violence case that had almost gotten buried. Brennan had pushed it through anyway. They met her 2 days later at a diner on the edge of town. Brennan was in her mid-40s, gray streaks in her pulled-back hair, eyes that had seen too many compromises. She listened to the whole story without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes on a small pad. When they finished, she set down her pen. "You're asking me to go after someone whose father plays golf with the chief. We're asking you to do your job," Bruce said. Brennan's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "I've tried twice before with cases connected to that family. Both times, evidence went missing or witnesses recanted. Once, my own report was rewritten before it reached my lieutenant." "So you're saying no?" "I'm saying yes, but you need to understand what you're walking into. If we do this, we do it perfectly. No confrontations and threats. Everything logged, time-stamped, recorded. One mistake and it all collapses." Bruce extended his hand. "Deal." Meanwhile, 2 states away, Kate worked through the night in her cramped apartment, surrounded by printouts and open browser tabs. She found the first case buried in a local news archive from 8 years earlier. A girl had reported harassment by a young man whose family's lawyers made the story vanish within a week. Then another 5 years ago. Then another. For other girls, all barely old enough to drive. All describing the same pattern. Friendly messages that became obsessive physical surveillance, complaints that stalled in bureaucratic limbo. She reached out to each of them through careful, respectful messages. 2 didn't respond. 1 blocked her immediately. But the 4th, a woman named Sophia, replied within an hour. They talked until Sophia's voice went hoarse. Sophia's voice shook as she described what had happened when she was 16. How his messages had made her feel special at first, then trapped. How he would wait outside her dance classes, claiming it was coincidence. How her parents had hired a lawyer, only to be told quietly that pursuing the case would bring unwanted attention to their family. The unspoken threat had been clear. His family could make their lives difficult in ways that had nothing to do with courtrooms. "I left for college and never came back," Sophia said. "I rebuilt my whole life somewhere he'd never find me. And now you're telling me he's doing it again." "Yes," Kate said softly. "To a 15-year-old. There was a long pause. Then Sophia's voice hardened. "What do you need from me?" "Your story. On the record. You'll use my name? Only if you're comfortable. But it's stronger if I can." Another pause. "Use it. I'm tired of hiding." Back in town, the bikers began their watch. They rotated shifts, keeping eyes on Sabrina's school, her route home, the places the sedan had been spotted. Leon captured video of it circling her block, loop after loop, like a shark testing the cage. Rita photographed the license plate repeatedly, building a timeline. The stalker noticed. He started changing tactics, parking farther away, using different vehicles, showing up at irregular times. But he didn't stop. If anything, being watched seemed to embolden him. One afternoon, he parked directly across from Sabrina's school and waited, windows down, making sure she saw him. She froze on the steps, her friends pulling her back inside. A teacher called the police. By the time they arrived, he was gone. The incident report listed it as a non-emergency observation. Detective Brennan added it to her growing file anyway. Sabrina stopped eating lunch at school. She told her mom she wasn't hungry, but the truth was she couldn't stomach food when she knew he might be outside, watching, waiting for her to walk past those windows. Her grades slipped. Her friends stopped texting as much. Not because they didn't care, but because she had pulled so far into herself there was barely anything left to reach. Her mother, Carol, worked double shifts at the hospital. She was a nurse, exhausted most days, surviving on coffee and sheer will. For weeks, Carol believed what she wanted to believe, that this was adolescent anxiety, something Sabrina would outgrow. Then she came home early and found Sabrina curled on the floor, a chair braced against the door. Reality hit like cold water. "Baby, what is this?" Carol's voice cracked as she knelt beside her daughter. Sabrina woke disoriented, eyes wide with panic before she recognized her mother. "I didn't hear you come in. Why is there a chair against your door?" Sabrina didn't answer. Carol already knew. Saw it in the hollow spaces behind her daughter's eyes. The way fear had settled in so deep it had become background noise. The next morning, Carol stormed into the school administration office, demanding answers. The vice principal greeted her with the kind of smile administrators perfected over decades, listened politely, and offered the same tired script. We take these concerns seriously, but we can't control what happens off school property. We've advised Sabrina to vary her routine, perhaps leave at different times, use different exits. Carol's hands shook. You're telling my 15-year-old daughter to sneak out of school like she's the one doing something wrong? We're suggesting practical safety measures. He's the danger, not her schedule. The vice principal adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Butcher, we understand your frustration, but without concrete evidence of a direct threat on school grounds, our hands are tied. Carol left before she said something that got her daughter labeled as a troublemaker's kid. She knew how that worked. Sabrina was already vulnerable. She didn't need the school turning against her too. That same week, Kate's article entered its final stages. Every fact was checked twice, timelines verified, statements from Sophia and another victim willing to go on record. She had also uncovered financial records showing donations from the stalker's father to both the Police Benevolent Association and the district attorney's re-election campaign. Not illegal, but damning in context. Her editor called her into his office. He was supportive but cautious. This implicates some powerful people. Are you absolutely certain about every fact? I've triple-checked everything. Because if we're wrong, we're not just printing a retraction. We're facing lawsuits that could sink us. Kate met his eyes. We're not wrong. He approved the piece for publication the following Monday. Meanwhile, Detective Brennan compiled her case with meticulous precision. Surveillance footage from businesses near Sabrina's school showed the blue sedan again and again, too many times to call coincidence. She logged police reports, including the ones that had been downplayed or dismissed. She interviewed Sabrina, Carol, and 3 of Sabrina's classmates who had witnessed the stalking firsthand. But she was also hitting walls. Her lieutenant kept asking for more evidence, despite the files growing thicker. When she tried to obtain phone records, the request stalled in legal review. When she suggested bringing the stalker in for questioning, she was told to wait for clearer probable cause. She knew what was happening. She had seen it before. The machinery of protection was grinding into motion, not for the victim, but for the perpetrator. Then the stalker escalated. It happened on a Saturday. Sabrina was at the grocery store with her mother, pushing a cart through the produce section. She turned the corner toward the dairy aisle and froze. He was there, not following from a distance this time, but standing 10 feet away, pretending to examine yogurt containers. Carol saw him and immediately stepped between them. Stay away from my daughter. He looked up, feigning surprise. I'm just shopping. No, you're not. You're stalking a child. Other shoppers were watching now. An employee approached. Is there a problem? The stalker smiled, calm, reasonable. No problem. Just a misunderstanding. He put the yogurt back and walked away, hands in his pockets, completely unbothered. Carol called the police. They arrived 30 minutes later, took a statement, and told her the same thing they always did. Without a direct threat, there was nothing they could do. Sabrina didn't speak the entire drive home. That night, Leon reported the grocery store encounter to the group. The anger in the room could have cracked concrete. One biker, a younger member named Desmond, stood abruptly. This is insane. We're just gonna watch this happen. We're documenting it, Bruce said tightly. Documenting doesn't stop him from cornering her in a store. Dale slammed his hand on the table. You think I don't know that? You think any of us want to sit on our hands while this piece of trash keeps terrorizing a kid? But the second we touch him, his father buries us. The club's gone, and Sabrina's still in danger. Maybe worse, because we won't be around to watch her back. Desmond dropped back into his chair, jaw still tight. Rita's phone buzzed. It was a text from Brennan. Just got word from a source. The family knows about the article. They're preparing a response. Bruce read it over her shoulder. When does it publish? Monday morning. Then we're about to see exactly how far they'd go to protect him. Outside, the blue sedan made another slow pass down the block where the clubhouse sat. The driver didn't stop, didn't wave. He didn't need to. The message was clear. I see you too. Inside, the bikers prepared for the storm they knew was coming. They had chosen the harder path, the one that didn't offer the satisfaction of immediate justice but might actually lead somewhere that lasted. They just had to hold the line long enough for the truth to matter more than the name trying to bury it. Kate's article went live early Monday morning. Within an hour, it was spreading across social media faster than anyone could track. By 9, local news stations were calling her editor for comment. By noon, the stalker's father had released a statement through his lawyer calling the piece a reckless attack on a young man's reputation based on unsubstantiated allegations and hearsay. But the evidence wasn't hearsay. Kate had included timestamps, police report numbers, screenshots of messages, and testimonies from 2 named victims. Sophia's face appeared in the accompanying photo, staring directly at the camera with an expression that said she was done hiding. The backlash came fast. The stalker's father contacted the newspaper's publisher, threatening legal action. He called in favors, pressured advertisers, made it clear that there would be consequences for everyone involved. The fire marshal arrived before lunch, clipboard ready, finding violations that somehow hadn't existed yesterday. Then code enforcement arrived, citing structural concerns that required immediate and expensive attention. Dale watched the inspector take photographs of the building's exterior and knew exactly what was happening. "How much is this going to cost us?" The inspector didn't look up from his clipboard. "Full report comes end of week. Repairs won't be cheap. Selling might be your best option." Dale's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Getting angry wouldn't help. That was what they wanted, an excuse to escalate. At the police station, Detective Brennan was called into her captain's office. He stood at the window, hands locked behind his back, the posture of a man trying to contain something. "You're aware of the article that published today," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir. And you're aware that this department is now under public scrutiny because of it." "The department is under scrutiny because cases were mishandled, sir. Not because someone reported it." He turned to face her, and she saw the exhaustion in his eyes. He wasn't angry at her. He was caught between doing what was right and managing the political fallout. "I'm getting pressure from the top to close this quietly. Make it go away." "I can't do that." "I know." He sat down heavily. "You have 48 hours. Make it bulletproof. After that, this gets taken out of your hands." Brennan didn't waste time. She contacted the bikers immediately, told them to send her every piece of documentation they had. Leon uploaded videos. Rita forwarded photographs. Bruce compiled a detailed timeline of every sighting, every incident, every ignored complaint. Sabrina and her mother met with Brennan that evening in a secure room at the station. Carol held her daughter's hand as Sabrina walked through the entire ordeal again, this time with a recording running. She described the messages, the fear, the grocery store encounter, the nights she couldn't sleep. Her voice shook but held. When she finished, Brennan leaned forward. "You've been incredibly brave. I need you to stay brave a little longer." The arrest happened Wednesday morning. Officers arrived at the stalker's home with a warrant based on Brennan's compiled evidence. Documented stalking, harassment, multiple violations of implicit restraining order conditions, and witness testimonies that couldn't be dismissed this time. His father's lawyers were already there, of course, but even they couldn't argue with the sheer volume of proof. Bail was posted before sunset. His father didn't even hesitate, but something had shifted. When he stepped outside the courthouse, cameras were waiting. Reporters shouted questions. His face appeared on the evening news, and suddenly the anonymity that had protected him was gone. People recognized him at the coffee shop, at the gas station, in the grocery store where he had cornered Sabrina. They didn't confront him, they just stared, then whispered to whoever they were with. The trial took months. His lawyers delayed, filed motions, attempted to suppress evidence. But the judge, pressured by public attention, denied most of them. When the verdict finally came, it was guilty on multiple counts. The sentence fell short. His father's influence still reached the bench. But it was something. Time served, probation, mandatory counseling, a restraining order that couldn't be dismissed on a technicality. Early release came after 2 months. When he returned, the town hadn't forgotten. Everywhere he went, people knew. Mothers pulled their children closer when he walked by. Former friends avoided him. Job applications went unanswered. The invisible shield his father's name had provided had cracked, and what was underneath was something nobody wanted near them. 3 months later, he was gone. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just an empty house and a for sale sign. Sabrina heard about it from Bruce, who had heard from Brennan. She was sitting in the clubhouse when he told her, surrounded by people who had become her unlikely protectors. No tears or celebration, just a slow nod, like she was testing whether relief was safe to feel. "You okay?" Rita asked. Sabrina thought about it. "I don't know yet, but I will be." The club survived the retaliatory inspections. Donations from community members who had read Kate's article helped cover the repair costs. The fire marshal's violations were addressed. The landlord, facing public pressure, renewed the lease. Kate won a regional journalism award for her investigation. She didn't attend the ceremony. Instead, she drove home for the first time in years and had dinner with Bruce. They didn't talk much about what had happened. They didn't need to. Sabrina started sleeping without the chair against her door. She walked to school without checking over her shoulder every few seconds. Her friends noticed she laughed more easily now. Her mother watched her daughter slowly come back to life and silently thanked the group of leather-clad strangers who had refused to look away when the system did. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, Sabrina stopped by the clubhouse. She brought cookies, lopsided, edges dark, perfect in their imperfection. The bikers accepted them with grins and gentle teasing. Before she left, she turned to Bruce. "Thank you for believing me." He shook his head. "You saved yourself, kid. We just made sure you didn't have to do it alone." She smiled and walked out into the sunlight, finally free to just be 15. This story isn't just about one girl or one stalker. It's about every system designed to protect the powerful instead of the vulnerable, and the ordinary people who refuse to look away. What would you have done? Share your thoughts below, and if this story moved you, subscribe to embrace the journey for more stories that matter. See you in our next video.